All right, Suzuka East. If you are new to this, you are in for some hair pulling. Very tricky configuration. If you have done it before, well, you know what you're in for. Depending when you're watching this, check the weather. This is a dry setup. Rain is in the forecast for this week, so if you're watching this in the future, YouTube, um, if the track is dry or rainy, you're gonna have to decide what you got to do. But setup here pretty tricky. Track is slick even with the low temperatures. So ride height -12 in the front. There's a lot of corner cutting here, a lot of curbs to go over, and so you need the car up in the air a bit. Damper compression 20. I did try fooling around with it a little bit, but I did just knock it back to 20 again. Brake bias, an individual thing, but this track has a lot, well, not a lot of, but downhill braking and some off-camber braking. And so whatever your normal brake bias is at, you may want it just a little bit higher than usual. And suspension, front and rear, soft as they go. Grip is at a premium here. Camber, those of you who know my channel know I play around with the camber, and it is symmetrical. Good news. 1.2 on each side. Again, a lot of off-camber corners, and I find having the lower camber is getting some good grip. Toe in 1.5. It is cranked up. Lots of understeer here. Well, not lots of understeer. Well, yes, lots of understeer here, but you also need lots of turn in here. Again, off-camber corners, it is hard to get the car to point in, so the toe is turned up. Again, suspension soft as it goes in the rear. Camber, again, pretty low in the rear. Those off-camber corners, that's why it is at 0.9. Toe in, very low, 0.1. Tire temps here get pretty high, and that toe in is just to keep those rear tires from getting cooked, because they get awfully hot. And on the bottom here, so we've got ride height -11, so just one higher than the front. And ARB is 10. With a slick track, that sounds crazy, but you have to rotate the car. Lots of sharp corners here, or high-speed corners, and getting the car to rotate here is awfully tricky, so it is turned up. It does make the back end a little squirrely, especially on cold tires, but once the tires warm up, it does grip up, and it is easier to control. Just be careful on those first few laps. Damper compression 4 and 18 as usual. Fuel level is 13 liters. That should get you to the end. And gear stack, I believe iRacing has it set at tall. I'm going with very tall. Actually, I found tall, you get to the rev limit in the straight, and if you were in the draft, that's going to be an issue. But also just through the corners, I found you're just in a better gear for most of the corners. So actually very tall. This might be an iRacing first, if not a first, then a second, where I've gone actually with a higher gear stack than what iRacing has it set at. Alright, we'll get into the guide here, slow-mo through the corners and then run it out at full speed. Track is 19 degrees. I've been in a few practice sessions, 19, 21 degrees. Usage 38%, so it's a little more forgiving. Yeah, and then just watch out, rain is in the forecast this week, so that could come into play. So 53.4 is the time. So we're coming into turn 1 here. And we're looking for the orange thing on the barrier on the left here. Getting on the brakes, shifting down into third gear. Cold tires, you got to be a little bit more on the brakes coming in, getting up to the curb here. Now this is cambered here and shifting down into second, just before the end of the curbs here. And this is what gets very tricky on this corner, especially cold tires. As you're coming out wide here, opening up the corner, you can see the track gets off camber. Once you get past the curbs here, the camber picks up again, but on entry, it's actually off camber here, and cold tires boy, I spun out a whole lot through this one, especially on cold tires. Once the tires are warm, not so bad, but cold tires, very tricky corner. Watch out, lots of crashes in here. So yeah, just easing off the brakes and then starting to pick up the throttle as you turn in. And again, just more braking when it is cold tires. And just, yeah, a little bit of throttle just to keep the back end planted, getting tight up against the curb here. I was probably a little late getting on the throttle. That probably cost me a little time. And then unwinding the wheel and getting onto the curbs here if you want. That's probably the best thing to do. The green stuff here, though, you have to watch out for. If you get on this green stuff, it is slick. You do have to get the car over to the right fairly quickly, and if your tires are on that green stuff and you turn the wheel, it is slick. So just watch out for that. Now, no real great marker here. You just turn in, lining the car up with the curbs. In third gear, a little bit of a lift probably on cold tires, but full throttle once the tires are warm, and getting onto the green stuff this time. You want to cut this corner as much as possible, open it up as much as possible, and then coming into the next one, shifting down into second gear just before the curbs. That's just to get the car rotated and not run wide, and it's really important, again, get on the curbs here. You have to manage the throttle, a lot of throttle management on this track. If you're spinning up the tires, if you're going sideways, you are losing speed, and that is very easy to do here. So listen to those tires and feel the car out. If you're going sideways, that is not quick. And then just making use of the curbs there, getting over to mid-track, and again, just a little lift of throttle just to keep the car from going sideways, and getting onto the curb again. And depending on the conditions, the curb is marked up here. I use that as a guide, but that may not always be visible. Once you're past that, you really want to be picking up the throttle, getting up to full speed, and then just getting the car again mid-track, little bit maybe to the left, but mid-track or so, coming into the next one. And again, just a little bit of throttle management. Again, looking for these tire marks on the curb. Just a little bit of a lift just to keep the car from sliding out wide. I find holding a tighter line here works pretty good because you can get on the throttle really early. And also it's opening up the next corner, running it out to mid-track, and turning in. And again, just a little bit of a lift as you come up to these curbs, again, just to keep the car from going sideways, because this is where this track gets really tricky. This new corner on this configuration. So I'm looking for the light stand here in the distance. I'm using that as a guide because this corner is basically blind, especially if you've got a car in front of you. You're not going to be able to see this corner until it's too late. So this light stand I'm using as a guide as you're coming past the end of the curbs here, trying to line the car up with that light standard and getting the car turned towards that light standard. Again, little bit of a lift, well, a big lift, and then getting onto the green stuff. Keep your left tire in the white line, otherwise you get a slowdown here, I think it is, and that's painful. And again, just managing the throttle, a little bit of throttle, not full throttle. Again, coming out here wide, the track is off camber, and trying to get the car turned in. Yes, you can do it. It does open up the corner. It does give you more speed into the start-finish straight, certainly because you've opened it up. However, getting over here and getting the car turned in, I find actually loses you more time aggregate. So if you're battling someone, you want to get a good draft, a good run on them, it might be a good idea to go wide out here. But if you're just trying to go fast, I find mid-track is actually quicker, because the track from about mid-track to the right, there's more camber to the track and you can carry more speed. And then yeah, just managing the throttle. And this is very nasty. This is very nasty. Again, if you get a tire on the grass here, it is an X, possibly a slowdown, so watch out for that. That is not the apex. Keeping it tight up against the pit entry line here. Getting on to full throttle almost. And again, this one you don't get a slowdown, but if you put a full tire onto this grass, it is an X, which ruins quali. In a race, not such a big deal. If you just graze the grass, no X. So I got it about as tight as you can get it without getting an X. And then yeah, just full throttle, unwinding the wheel. And again, on cold tires, watch out for this one. Again, the track falls away from you. It's off camber here, and it is very easy to slide off track, pick up an X. It's not the end of the world. You shouldn't crash or anything, but you can pick up the X touching that grass. And there is no run to the line, so if you're making a move, you got to make it through that last corner, because otherwise on the last lap the race is over basically once you're done that corner. And watch out for quali. If you screw up that last corner, you've wrecked that lap, but you've probably also wrecked your next lap. So it's really important to nail that corner in quali, because you only get 2 laps, and if you screw it up, they're both wrecked. So watch out for that. 53.4, I think that's going to be pretty competitive time in the dry. Hopefully you catch a dry one out there. We'll see you guys next time. We'll run it out at full speed.